Travis Hare is our city engineer, and he's here this evening to present on upcoming and recently completed engineering projects. So I ask him to come up, and I have to commend the public services team, particularly engineering and streets, who have worked over the past several years to change the way that they do this work. So they do a lot of it in-house, and that's allowed them to do more projects. But even when they are contracted out, Travis and his team have to work to make sure that these are done by the regulations, on time and on budget. So there's a lot of active management even when we contract these projects out. So with that, I'll turn it over to Travis.
Madam Mayor, Council, I'm just going to go through our 2022 construction season here. We have a very busy construction season coming up, and we'll get to that in here in a minute. I just wanted to let you know, I'm going to first talk real briefly about some big projects we completed in 2021, and then we'll go through maybe real briefly some selection factors that we go through as far as what roads to pick and what bridges we need to do work on. I'll go through some of the road and bridge projects that we have this summer, and then we'll also move on. We have a couple non-road and bridge related projects that I'm going to touch on real briefly. So last year, we had a couple reconstruct projects that we did. The major street one that we did was Mackinac from Alexander to Hamilton. This was our fiscal year 21 MDOT federally aided project. This was about $3.5 million. It's a little over 3/4 of a mile. This included probably $750,000 of sewer work, $750,000 of water work, and then the road itself. So this was a rather large project for the city. We also had Baum Street from Hoyt to Thompson. This was a little 1-block piece over by the hospital that we needed to do because we had a sewer that was in pretty bad shape and had to be replaced. We also had some road resurfacing projects as well. Our CDBG project last year was 17th Street from Whittier to Walnut. That was about a half a mile, I believe. We did water main work, sewer work, and then replaced all the ADA ramps at every intersection, and then milled and filled, milled and resurfaced with asphalt for the mid blocks for that street. Then we also had about $1 million worth of mill and resurface project. We did Hass Avenue and Gallagher Street on the east side of the Center Street Bridge. We did Fordney Street from M46 to Gallagher, and we also did a small piece of Williamson just to the east of M13. And then we did North Carolina to finish that piece up from Davenport to Weiss. And then we did have one bridge project last year. It was on the Center Street Bridge. We did deck patches, sidewalk patches. We replaced expansion and contraction joints, and then we also did an epoxy overlay. So that bridge is going to be good for a little bit here. Some of the other miscellaneous projects we had an ADA ramp and sidewalk project. Last year was the first year they combined the ADA ramps and the sidewalks together. We were able to do a larger project and larger amount of areas for close to the same unit cost. We saved a little bit unit cost to bid them, with a larger quantity. And then a special project we did last year was Cooper Avenue pedestrian islands. This was actually 100% funded by Covenant. They had a consultant hired to go out and make it safer for people to cross Cooper. And so they came to us with a proposal and a design, asked for permission if we could do this, and then they funded the project. So real briefly, just on some project selection factors, we look at a multitude of things. Number one being Payser ratings. I won't get into those. We have a 1 to 10 scale, poor, fair, and good, and we go through every year and rate about half the city on this 1 to 10 scale. And there's certain Payser ratings that are better for certain types of fixes. We look at street functional class, whether it's major or minor streets, accident rates. We look at traffic volume, and then we'll jump into, if we have a couple roads that are in the exact same situation, then we'll look at complaints to kind of choose from there. This is just to give a picture to everybody. This is our Payser ratings as of last year. We have gotten better. The last couple years we have made some progress, but it is tough to do reconstructs. They're very expensive. That's why we try to do mill and resurfaces. We get better bang for the buck, keeping the good roads in a good condition. Here's a little outline here of some of the projects we're going to cover. I'll try to go through these quickly. I won't read every slide. There's a lot of them. First one, we have a Mill and Resurface project again. This is pending the fiscal 23 budget. This will be starting after July. Some of the streets, we can't guarantee we can do all of these, hopefully with enough money. We're going to do Court Street from Alexander to Hamilton, Janes from Washington to the city limits, and those would be our two major street projects. And then local street, we want to do Delaware from Davenport to Weiss, and then the football area, the rest of it, Berger and Northmore. Sometimes we try to pick local streets that have already been taken care of as far as lead lines. And so this is a good area that the lead lines have been replaced already. So this is a good spot to go to start doing mill and resurfaces on local streets. The next one is our fiscal 21 CDBG project. This is a reconstruct on Lapeer from Roosevelt Austin, which is Old 2nd Avenue to 6th Avenue. This one is a full reconstruct, a little over half a mile. We're going to be doing sidewalk ramps, water improvements, sewer improvements, driveway approaches, you name it. That one is out for bid right now. We'll be open those March 29th. But the engineer's estimate right now is about 1.3 million. The next one is we're actually doing two CDBG projects this year. One, they're two different fiscal years. This year's project also is 12th Street resurfacing from Perkins to Janes, and then we're combining that with the ADA ramp funding that we received as well. And so it worked out perfectly. That 12th Street Walnut is about halfway between Perkins and Janes, so they're in the same vicinity. Contractor doesn't have to travel from one side of the city to the other, so we can save a little cost by bidding them together. And so that's about a $400,000 project. We're going to do close to 75 ADA ramps and about a mile of HMA resurfacing with that. This year's big reconstruction project, this is our fiscal year 22 MDOT federally aided eligible road. This is West Holland from Woodbridge to Hamilton. And then we're doing also the little piece of Remington here right next to City Hall from Water to Washington. This equates to 1.2 lane miles of road, which lane miles is, if you have 3 lanes for half a mile, then that's 1.5 lane miles. So we try to do that because there's some, if you get in a rural area, there might be only 2 lanes. And you come into the city and we have 3 or 4 for the road, and it shows why some of our costs are higher. This one has been bid out already, and this one has a construction budget of about 2.9 million with a slew of different accounts used, and 1.8 million of that is all federal dollars. And this was what Mr. Morales was talking about. We have a lot of specifications and regulations and red tape that we have to go through to keep this project and all the specs and everything in order. And these take a lot of work to keep managed. One of our other reconstructs is Wadsworth Avenue reconstruction. This is the only minor street piece, local street piece that we have. This goes from the Lake State Yard out to Vets Memorial Parkway. Is in very bad shape. This is highly commercial traffic using by the Lake State Railroad. And so they've been asking us for a couple of years to try to do this, and it fit in perfectly with what we were trying to achieve for the summer. So we're going to be doing that project. That has been bid out already, and that is actually one of the CCs tonight for approval for the project. So we have Genesee Avenue Bridge. This was on a previous council meeting, I believe, awarded to Davis Construction. This was when we had the flood in May 2020. We had to close this bridge down because it's a Scour critical bridge. And so this picture here is actually an underwater scan that we had Spicer Group Incorporated do after the flood was over, after the flood waters receded, to basically allow us to open this bridge up to make sure that it was still safe to travel on. The red shaped area there is most of the area that we are putting new riprap, new stone, to recover what was lost as part of the flood. And so 80% of this project is all federal dollars from emergency relief funds. And then once that project's done, we'll actually have another project in Genesee Avenue Bridge. This is part of our local bridge program. This one's a little over $1 million. It includes a slew of things, concrete deck patching. We'll be replacing the curb and the sidewalk areas that are in poor shape. We also have some underwater concrete to be repaired on the piers. And then we'll also be doing an epoxy overlay on the deck once all that is done. Same thing we did with Center Street last year. So this one actually was 2 different fiscal years of funding. We're combining them together again to save cost. We also have another local bridge program funded project this year. It's Holland Avenue Bridge. This one is a little bit smaller, but a little less than $500,000. We're going to be doing some construction joints, expansion joint replacements, some concrete sidewalk patching, and then a silane treatment on the pieces of the bridge on the outside. And this is kind of a water sealing treatment. We do have a concrete repair project this year as well. This is on East Holland, this block right here next to City Hall, and then on East Remington from Washington to Jefferson. These roads are not in bad enough shape to require a reconstruct, which allows us to save some money and just replace some of the concrete panels, the curb and gutter, and areas that are in bad repair. We can go in there for less money, repair those, and not have to reconstruct the whole thing right at this time. It gives us an extra probably 15 years of life for a lot less money. Another one we have is we partner with the local railroads here on an Eastern and Lake State Railway. We did not do any crossings last year, but 2 years ago we did 3 crossings. I believe it was Davenport, we had Jefferson, and we also had East Holland, I believe. And so what we do is we coordinate with the railroad, and this is actually a grant from the state that we put in the applications in conjunction with the railroad companies, and then they're responsible for a certain amount of the work, whether it's rail ties replacement, the material between the rails, and then we're responsible for anything outside of that. So all of this total, just for road and bridge construction for this year, we're a little over $8.3 million. Just to put that in perspective, last year we did about 5.3. So with extra grant money and federal dollars this year, we're doing a lot more construction. It's very good to see. And then just a couple other construction projects that we're doing. We have the Andersen Enrichment Center and the fire training facility parking lots that we're going to be resurfacing. We're building the brand new Baum Street surface lot where the old parking ramp used to be. And then I think someone was actually talking earlier about the Iron Bell Trail. We will be building the first piece of the Iron Bell Trail through our city on Wicks Park this year as well. So the first one real quick is Andersen Enrichment Center. This parking lot and also the fire training facility, that's where the fire tower is. We are going to be resurfacing and rehabbing these parking lots. They're in poor shape, and it's time to be done for them. And the other one I touched on real quick, this was where the old Baum Street parking ramp number 1 was, over Federal, Baum, Franklin, and Janes in that area. We've already started the work on this. All the underground is done. We're just waiting for some warmer weather and for the asphalt plants to open up and we can get that wrapped up. So hopefully have another lot downtown for more people to park at. And then the last one I want to touch on is Wicks Park. We do have an MDNR grant for $300,000 for this project. And so with that grant, as well as hopefully some general fund money for street lighting, we're going to be building this. It's about $1 million from M13 to the basketball courts just north of Naval Reserve. From there to Naval Reserve, it'll be open to traffic still, but from the basketball courts all the way to Fordney, it'll only be a bike path when this project is done. We are converting it to bike path only. We will have a turnaround and a few parking spots at the basketball courts there, and then that'll allow people to turn around and go back down south. At the end of the summer, this will be the first piece of our separated Iron Bell Trail that will connect to the riverfront trail that's already there as well. Other than that, I won't read through all these, but here's some future proposed construction we have going on. Some of these are our annual projects that we always try to have depending on budget. And then some of the other ones are our federal aid jobs and then what we hope to build with local road money.